So now let's have a look at the built-in date hierarchy which is present over here. So what do we mean by date hierarchy? If you go back to your Power BI desktop and if we have a look at this, any date field can give you a hierarchy as in year, quarter, month and day. If you want to view certain things by year, quarter, month and day, you can by default system helps you get that year, quarter, month and day from the date field. So this is the hierarchy created by the system. Similarly, you might want an address hierarchy kind of stuff. So hierarchies in this Power BI desktop is very useful to group or derive a data based on slices and dices. If you go back again to this Power BI story, DAX expression supports all kind of them, whereas not few of them are not supported in the import in the direct query. So what are DAX expressions? So DAX expressions, if I have to tell you, any measures which you write on top of this would be a DAX query. So when you say add a new measure, in this whatever you try to add would be a DAX measure. You might want to call it as probably it's disappeared. You might say right click and new measure. You directly go over here and say a formula underscore list. In this case, you have queries such as last date, non-blank, log, lower. It converts everything. So these functions, what you see over here, and helps you form a DAX query. In this case, you can have lower of the probably customer ID. So it doesn't come in that way. So you would have to first TBL count. If you say count number of values which result from evaluating an expression, or you just say count all, count the number of values in the column. In which column do you want to see? You want to have customer address or ID? I would say customer ID. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to demo, for example, formula ID, and I said tab. If it's right, it would accept. If it is not, then it would give me an error. Do I have anything? No, it's only a customer name. And I say yes, formula list. So if I try to bring it over here, did it result anything? No, it didn't. So there is some error in this. So you will have to go back and update this. So if I say count and I say this, and instead of this, I would like to do customer dot city, and I want to count that city. What happens? It gave me a chart. There are about 85 cities, 91 cities present. If I want to rename, because right now I started with list, but I said number of city. So in this case, what we saw over here is it gets updated as a real-time thing. It shows you the content. You might want to scatter. You might want to change the graph type by selecting it and changing the visualization. Right? You have so many different times. Since there are no slices in the city and it's a count and aggregated value, all aggregated value will end up being a dot or a bar or a singular color in this thing. So this is how the DAX query come into picture. Let's go back and see what do you understand by the term refresh. So in this case, if you are doing a refresh, and then you would have to go into the dashboard data sets, you will see this. You have a credential as to what you want to refresh, you can have a scheduled refresh. If you have a defined source, then you can do it. So you need to have a gateway configured. Once you have the gateway configured, then only you can schedule a refresh. So a good thing to note over here is, please configure the gateway before you schedule a refresh. Otherwise, it is a manual way of importing the data over here like this, right? Everything is getting updated. Once that is getting updated, you push the data by clicking on publish. Only then the changes what you've done would show on the Power BI service, which would be shown to everybody online based on the roles you configure. So like we said, let this refresh get over. Once it gets it didn't get over. For some reason, there was an error in one of the table. Why there was an, let's not publish it till the time we refresh the data. So we'll have to do it again. So it is getting refreshed. It has some data in the previous table. So this is the table, MIS GLCC table is what we need to check. So MIS GLCC table needs to be viewed. Since it is a direct query and it is in relationship with something, that is the reason there is an issue over there. So a better way of doing things would be, let's change the direction as both, apply security to both, and we say okay, make it okay, make it the dual direction. Now click on refresh, hoping that things would be alright. If not, then there was something else which we can troubleshoot in the later sessions. Alright, so we'll keep this aside. This is for a later sessions. How do we do it? Once this is set, we import it to the Power BI service.